Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Travis Allen, and I am running to be your next California chairman of the Republican Party. Raise your hand if you're a California citizen. Well, there you go. Raise your hand if you know anyone who's left our state. And raise your hand if you ever thought about leaving our state yourself. I thought the same thing. You see, my folks had left. They now live in Oregon. My brother left. He lives in Arizona. My best friend left. He lives in Texas. I'm a certified financial planner. I started in business in '96. I opened up my own company in 2001. All of my clients started out in California. They're now in 22 different states around the nation because we have some of the highest taxes in the nation. We have growing homelessness. We have out-of-control poverty, the very worst in the nation. Now we have rampant public drug use in all of our streets. And Gavin Newsom's best solution is to start taxing your water. Ladies and gentlemen, I had had enough of the things that were happening in California, but you see, there's a problem because I'm a Southern California surfer. I'm from Huntington Beach, California. I'm actually in the Guinness Book of World Records for riding the biggest surfboard ever built. We got 67 people on one surfboard. And the problem is you see, there's no waves in Texas unless there's a hurricane. So I got to stay right here. But if I was going to stay here, I wasn't going to stand idly by. So in 2012, I got elected. I'm the only candidate running to be your next Republican Party chairman of the state of California that has actually held public office. Successfully ran. I served from 2012 to 2018. I was known as the most conservative member of the California legislature. As you may have heard, I never kept my mouth shut when the Democrats were taking liberties with our freedoms and with our wallets in the state of California. I was the original author of the gas tax repeal. I took the Attorney General to the Superior Court because he gave us a bad title and summary, and I beat him there. The Court of Appeals threw this out, and we couldn't even get a hearing at the California Supreme Court because it was stacked with Jerry Brown's appointments. At this point, I said, look, there's another effort, so let me join that other effort. And I gathered tens of thousands of signatures for the effort that became known as Prop 6. Unfortunately, Prop 6 failed at the ballot box in 2018, in part due to a bad ballot title and summary. Ladies and gentlemen, when I first got elected to office, I thought, this is going to be great. I'm going to go up there to Sacramento, I'm going to say my piece, and maybe we'll get some change. But unfortunately, you may have heard that in 2012, we were in a super minority in the California Assembly. We were in a super minority in the California Senate. We were actually at the lowest point that we had been since 1883. And once I got up there after 6 months, I realized, wow, there's really not much we can do in Sacramento except blow a lot of hot air. So after 6 months, I realized there was a little race in the Central Valley. There was a third-generation cherry farmer. His name was Andy Vidak. And he had a shot to win a Senate seat that had been vacated by a Democrat who all of a sudden saw the light. This guy was a socialist, but he got a call from, it was Big Oil. Yeah, it was Big Oil one day. And he decided overnight that he actually was a capitalist. So he left his Senate post early, and that gave us a special election right in the heart of the Central Valley. This seat was a 22% Democrat-favored seat. But our third-generation cherry farmer, Andy Vidak, looked like he had a shot to win. So I was talking to a couple of my buddies in Sacramento. I said, look, we're not doing anything up here. It's been 6 months. We've made our speeches. We've cast our votes. We've hit that red button. As a matter of fact, over the last 6 years, I hit that red button on my desk so many times, I literally broke the red button. It flew off my desk on one of the votes. But it wasn't changing anything. I said, let's go out in the field. Let's go out to California, and let's start winning races. And they said, well, sure, Travis, but this is a hopeless race. It might be a special election, but it's 22 percentage points favored to the Democrats. I said, well, you know what? You're never going to know unless you try. Let's go out and let's go knock on some doors. There was 3 of us. And I said, how about I'll knock on 5 doors, you knock on 5 doors, and you knock on 5 doors. And who knows, maybe those 15 votes that we get could tip the scales. Well, it might have taken me a little time to convince him. It was about 11 o'clock at night. We were in tacos at his kitchen table. And I started to pound on the table. I kept on talking. I took them all the way to 1:30 in the morning. And finally, I completely broke them down. And they said, okay, fine, Travis. We'll go. You lead, we'll follow. Let's go do it. Within 1 week, we had secured an $800,000 independent expenditure from the California Realtors. My friend took the paid walk program. I brought 500 volunteers from around the state of California to knock on doors in the Central Valley, and you better believe we got Andy Vidak, Republican, elected in the Central Valley. From there, I participated in 14 volunteer walks. I led 14 volunteer walks, including putting Kevin Faulconer in as mayor in the city of San Diego, the only Republican mayor in the top 10 cities in the United States. We won race after race, and I decided volunteers weren't enough, so I formed a professional walk army. In 2014, I had 800 paid walkers on the ground in races across the state of California. We participated in 12 races, and we won 11 of them. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't believe in sitting on my hands. I stayed in that California legislature, and I continued to fight. In the 2014 cycle, I drained my political account down to zero. I took all of my donations from everyone, and I gave them to all of the other candidates so they could go and they could fight and they could win. Because of our efforts and everyone else's efforts in 2014, we broke the supermajority in the Senate, we broke the supermajority in the Assembly, and Republicans actually had hope for once in California. And yes, you should clap for that. And I continued the fight. In 2018, Jerry Brown his time was up, and it was time for him to go. And I realized that in the California legislature, even if we had broken the superminority, they were still going to try to pass their gas taxes and every other split roll and every other thing we know that they're going to pass. And I realized the only way to actually stop this was to stop it from the very top. So I ran to be your next governor of the state of California. I built the largest social media following of any state legislator, Republican or Democrat, in the entire nation. I have 500,000 followers on social media. People ask me, Travis, how do you reach out to millennials? Well, guess what? I'm on the telephone every single day. I built the largest volunteer organization in the state of California. Today, I have over 50,000 volunteers across the state of California. I built up the largest donor network in the state of California of any elected Republican, as I hear it. I have over 20,000 individual donors that have given me an average donation of $36 or more. And ladies and gentlemen, I outraised my opponent. We all know who he was. His name was John Cox. I actually endorsed him, and I campaigned for him after he got the nomination. I did 8 seminars up and down the state and brought my volunteers and said, look, I might not be on the ballot any longer, but we have an endorsed Republican candidate. Go out there and help him out and try to get him to win. How did that work out for us in 2018? In 2018, despite our best efforts, despite everything that everyone had done, the California Republican establishment led us to a defeat. This defeat was not a small defeat. In 2018, we lost the governor's race by the largest margin a Republican has ever lost that race since 1978. We lost congressional seats. There's 53 congressmen in California. There was 14 Republicans. Today, there are only 7. We lost half of our congressional seats in the state of California, the largest loss since 1883. We lost so many seats in the state legislature, we are now in a mega minority in the California Assembly. That means the Democrats have 75% of the seats, and a superminority once again in the California Senate. There was an organization in California that started in 2011. It was called Trailblazers. This organization was tasked with electing more Republicans in California. One of the candidates for chairman started this organization and ran this organization. When they started this organization, we had 28 senators and we had 28 assemblymen and we had 14 senators. Today, we have 11 seats left, 11 seats less, 20 senators, 20 assemblymen, and only 11 senators. The California Trailblazers was tasked with electing more Republican legislators. Their net result in the last 7 years of operations and millions of dollars spent is losing 11 seats. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of losing the California Republican Party. I say it's time we empower every single person in this room, every single Californian. Raise your hand if you know a California Republican that's not sitting in this room. Raise your hand if you're sick and tired of losing in California. Raise your hand if you're sick and tired of the California Republican establishment telling you that you need to look and sound more like a California Democrat to get elected in the state of California. Raise your hand. Did Meg Whitman win? Did Neil Kashkari win? If you listen to the mainstream media and the Democrats and even some of these quote-unquote Republican leaders that want to tell you that your Republican Party is dead, they're going to tell you that the reason Republicans can't win in California is because they're too conservative. Well, I got news for you. That is a false narrative. When we had people like Bill Dannemeyer, George Deukmejian, the California Republican Party was dramatically more conservative, and not only did we win, we dominated state politics. We had Republican governors, as we said, Ronald Reagan to the White House. Let's hear it. I have been accused by many of having too much enthusiasm. But I got to tell you, that's exactly what our party needs right now. When I come to the table and I say, you know what, look, I want to be your next state party chairman, I do it for a very simple reason. There's no future for Republicans in California unless we rebuild our party. By Republicans, for Republicans, a party that embraces our Republican values, our Republican ideals, and yes, supports our Republican president. Do we have anybody that's a Trump supporter in the room? Do we have anybody that voted for our Republican nominee for president? Among the candidates for your chairman, I was the first to support. In May of 2016, it was very simple. Ted Cruz had dropped out of the race. I actually supported Cruz, and I supported Marco Rubio as well. I liked them both for different reasons. I thought Marco Rubio was a young, aggressive voice, Latino, that was a great face of the Republican Party. And Ted Cruz was a staunch constitutionalist and a conservative. I thought that was great too. But when they were gone, ladies and gentlemen, there was only one choice. You were either going to vote for Donald Trump or crooked Hillary Clinton. It was very simple, right? I wrote an op-ed called "It's Time for Republicans to Unite, to Unify behind Donald Trump" in May of 2016. Were we right? Did anybody say that Donald Trump was going to win the election in 2016? Your friends, your family, how many people had a conversation saying, you're crazy, Donald Trump will never win, right? Think about this. We all had this conversation. Were they right? Were they wrong? Were we right? Did we win with the most conservative president we've had since Ronald Reagan? Are we winning again in the United States? Strongest economy in the last 50 years. Every subgroup you want to choose, women, African Americans, Latinos, everyone, record employment, real wage growth. The United States is renegotiating trade deals around the world. The United States has a military that is once again being strengthened. We are once again respected around the world. Forget about what the mainstream media says. Now they know when the United States is talking, we mean business. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what the Republican Party looks like. It looks like bold leadership that wins races, leadership that turns around states. You know, the state of Texas, the great state of Texas, it's so red today, right? It's so Republican. They used to have just 3 Republicans. They turned their entire state around. And we can do it right here, and let me tell you exactly how we're going to do it. I wrote an article called "It's Time for a Republican Revolution in California." If you're online, go to my Facebook at Join Travis Allen. Go to my website at jointravisallen.com. You'll find all of the information there. But it's very simple. I laid out a 3-point plan. Number 1, the first goal of your California Republican Party, as soon as I am elected on February 24th as your next party chairman, is to register voters statewide once again, which we have not done in a decade. We will create more Republicans. What do you say? We will do this through a statewide bounty program, which we have not had for over a decade. Today, we have 24% registered Republicans. That used to be 30% just a few short years ago in the late 90s. Think about this. Republican registration is declining because our party isn't trying to register voters statewide. The definition of insanity is trying to continue to do the same things and expecting a different outcome. Why would we continue to elect establishment chairman after establishment chairman, supported by all of the establishment, and expect a different result? Ladies and gentlemen, we must aggressively pursue statewide voter registration. We will do it with a statewide bounty program, and I have a very simple plan to finance the entire thing. It's called the California 100,000. This would take $10 from every California Republican that's willing to build the party. $10 from 100,000 Californians. That generates $1 million a month. $24 million over a 2-year cycle. A 70% increase to our current budget of $36 billion. It will almost double that to $60 billion. And we will promise every single one of those Californians that 100% of your money will go directly to voter registration. We will do the same thing the Democrats did in California, which is organize our entire state. Every single street will have a Republican street captain. Every single precinct will have a Republican precinct captain. We have 5 million California Republicans. We have them. I have 50,000 volunteers I bring to the table. They are ready, waiting, and dying to help out the Republican Party. And think about this. We make someone a Republican captain on their street. Let's call this person Joe Smith. We send Joe Smith a box of cards that costs us 15 cents. And it says, Joe Smith, Republican street captain. Now Joe Smith is empowered to talk to his neighbors. He knocks on their door. We tell him which ones are Republican, which ones aren't, which ones he might be able to flip. He knocks on their door and says, my name is Joe Smith. I'm a Republican. These are the values that we believe in. better schools, safer communities, strong borders, less tax, less traffic. We are Republican. If you share any of these values, we'd love to have you aboard. And here's your voter registration card. We can change you right today from being a declined state voter or a Democrat to a Republican. And you know what? Maybe he has success and maybe he doesn't. If he has success, every dollar or every new registration creates a dollar for your organization. This finances every volunteer organization throughout the state the best way possible in a virtuous cycle where you get more money for your organization, the more Republicans you create. Now let's say Joe knocks on all the doors in his neighborhood. And let's say he gets a registration, or maybe he doesn't even. But guess what? In 14 short months, we're going to have the presidential primary in March of 2020 because they moved the primary date up. That's our next election, ladies and gentlemen. Who here has heard of a term called ballot harvesting? The Democrats have fixed the system. They now have paid political operatives that knock on people's door to collect their ballot and ship them in for them. This used to be illegal, but now it's legal apparently in California. How do the Republicans fight back? You know how they fight back? Joe Smith is already a Republican street captain. All of his neighbors already know it. So when election time comes in 14 short months, when they get a knock on the door, they know, hey, that's Joe Smith from the corner. He's the Republican guy. He's here to collect my ballot. We will create a built-in statewide grassroots ballot harvesting army to win in California. Now, step back for just a moment. This is elementary. This is easy. This is simply the hard work that the Republican Party should have been doing for decades. The Democrats have been doing this for 30 years. Instead, we have been told by the establishment to throw Hail Mary passes to governor candidates that are out of touch with our Republican values. They have relied upon billionaires and special interests in Sacramento for our success. How has that worked out for them? We used to have a majority in the California Assembly. Today we have a mega minority. This is what the establishment has given us. If you believe in the status quo, if you're happy, who's happy with the state of the Republican Party in California? Who's ready to change and grow once again and win in California with a vibrant, dynamic Republican Party? We will start, thank you. We will start by registering voters. That is our first goal. We will organize every street, every precinct across the state of California. I do not come empty-handed, ladies and gentlemen. When I tell you about the California 100,000, I already bring with me 20,000 individual donors to the table ready to donate, more than any other candidates. When I tell you we're going to have a Republican street captain and a Republican precinct captain across every street and precinct in California, I don't come empty-handed. I already have 50,000 Californians that are signed up to do this to volunteer. Ladies and gentlemen, when we talk about outreach, how do we reach these people? If you take a look today, who here has been to the California GOP website? It's still talking about the results from the general election in November. Ladies and gentlemen, we must be cutting edge. When I tell you I have 500,000 social media followers, this is how you reach millennials. This is how you reach all of your non-traditional markets. The California Republican Party must not only do the hard work on the ground, we have to do the hard work in the media and in social media. Last week I was on Tucker Carlson. Last week I was on Fox News in the Bay Area. I was in the San Francisco Chronicle. I was in radio stations up and down the state. Your party must be seen from, it must be heard with a positive message that resonates with all Californians. The California Republican Party stands for values that we all believe in, your common sense values. But imagine for a moment, from day one, we've established our financing plan. Keep in mind too, the large donors, the billionaires, the special interests, they're always going to give money to the Republican Party. Do you know why? Because it's transactional for them. For them, they use our party as their vehicle. As long as there is a viable party, their money is going to continue to flow. But the problem is their money comes with strings. The best money and the most unlimited source is from all of our California Republicans directly. Once a Republican gives us $1, they are bought in, they are invested into their California Republican Party. It becomes their party. They become our brand advocates, which is what we need to defeat the Democrats. We built a statewide army. We began registering voters statewide in California. We have our messaging that is strong, it is aggressive, it is Republican values, and it is a happy, optimistic message that reaches all communities in California. This will do us no good if the Democrats continue to steal elections. The California Republican Party must aggressively pursue the election fraud of the California Democrats in federal court all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary. We will have free elections. We won't get any venue in state court, but in federal court, we'll win at the state level, We'll go to the appeals court. You know the Ninth Circuit's going to throw us out, and then we'll take it to the Supreme Court. Last I checked, we got 2 justices, and we're about to get a 3rd. Ladies and gentlemen, we will prosecute election fraud. And lastly, I'll end with this. We're going to build a statewide Republican Army. We will revitalize, with new energy, with new vision, your Republican Party to win once again in California through hard work. We will pursue the election fraud of the California Democrats so they can no longer steal our elections. And lastly, when Gavin Newsom does what he all knows he's going to do, he's going to screw up. He's going to go too far. When he does something that agitates the California public so bad, the California Republican Party will have a grassroots army, and we will recall every Democrat politician in the state that gets out of line. This changes the playing field overnight. We did it in 2003. We threw out Governor Gray Davis. We did it in 2018. We threw out Josh Newman for the gas tax. Your Republican Party must be dynamic. It must be energized. It must be passionate, optimistic. It must be ready to win once again in California. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Travis Allen. Let's take back California. Let's take back our party, and let's win again in our state. Thank you so much.